So, the last game didn't go my way, and ultimately the series was 3-2 because of it.
Yes.
I took kind of a gamble. I'm not sure if that was appropriate, because I had the Carnage early on. I actually intentionally kept the hand that had no resources because it had Carnage, and some removal, and a Broderick, which is very important, but it did not have Poison the Well. Normally, you want a mulligan for Poison the Well, but I think both for illustrative purposes and also I wanted to try the hand, it's important to give it a whirl.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point you had won the series, so it didn't really matter. But in real life, if it did, I personally probably would have saved my life for Poison the Well, but I'm not as adventurous as you are.
Well, if there was something on the line, if we were playing in a tournament, I definitely would have mulliganed for Poison the Well. It is so important in this matchup, as anybody, you can see right on the surface. Look at the things White played out. You got a 2 cost, a 0 cost, a 1 cost. Oh, but Grumdak, which is important to draw attention to, is a 3 cost.
Yeah, so he survives Poison the Well, which is fantastic.
So I think we mentioned it earlier, but he was running rampant in the core format for a while, and with good reason.
Yeah, he's incredible. He comes in, he's ferocity, long range, and does 5.
So, whether you're going face, like happened a lot in our games, or whether you're playing against an opponent with actual allies, he does both jobs.
Yeah.
Most things die to 5 attack.
Yeah, and the big things can die to 5 attack, where you do the long range of Grumdak and run in a token or something, and that's usually enough to get the game over. I mean,
Mazukan dies to that, if that were to come up, and you really wanted to kill a Mazukan.
I mean, maybe?
I'm sure there's going to be situations where that comes up.
Yeah.
So, overall, I think this matchup is kind of interesting to both play and watch, because it's often balanced on a razor's edge.
Yeah, it really is.
The games we played were close, although the last one was kind of a blowout to some extent. But if I did hit a Poison the Well...
Yeah, if you hit a Poison the Well, I had already done my hand, so I was screwed.
Well, that's exactly it. You probably should have held the Lady Bancroft at the end.
I know, I was feeling cocky.
Well, by the same token, if I had had to Poison the Well, I would have played it sooner.
Yeah.
Additionally, if I had to Poison the Well, as I mentioned, I had a Gouge in hand, so I could have stabilized there, because I would have had Broderick in the graveyard, Broderick on board. I had a Death Blow in hand, which is an important component to this deck, and as you saw in the other game, I was able to close things out because of the variable damage there.
Yeah.
Slay the Feebles, Obfuscate. This is important in something that I haven't seen in a lot of versions, and it's important in this specific matchup because of all the aberrations. So it gives your hero, it's essentially a one-shot Broderick, so it allows you to off those aberration allies. It doesn't do a lot against Lady Bancroft, but what are you going to do?
No, but there's got to be one thing that it doesn't help.
Well, of course.
For me, I want to say, these things I think felt weird to me, because I don't think I drew as many pets as I feel like I normally see. I saw Fang.
Well, yeah, you drew all the Grumdaks instead.
Yeah. But I saw Fang and game 2 with the 6-cost Bonsai. That was fantastic.
Yes.
So,
Bonsai, speaking of Bonsai, so our version of Werewolves, that is, runs more pets than most others do.
Yes.
So you'll usually see Fang. You'll occasionally see other stuff. We do run Boomer, but we do main deck Bonsai as well, because in Classic...
He's so good.
I mean, okay, look. Vorix and other rogues are going to dump things into the graveyard. But also, you have other decks, such as the Emic that I won a couple years ago with. Yeah. It doesn't really... I mean, it wants to put cards in the graveyard. But it does so via discard, and then it wants to feed a new Barak. But your opponent's probably going to eat your graveyard, leaving theirs alone, so you could have a chunky Bonsai relatively easily. Mage decks, he comes down for 1, so you're probably dodging a lot of interrupts. And mage decks also tend to throw things into the graveyard, so slower mage decks, so they can flickers them back. There are a lot of decks that care about their graveyard and the things that are in it, and making Bonsai gigantic, and then for 3, take 8, take 16. Yeah. You can blow somebody out.
Excuse me. So Bonsai in this, I think he only did 6, but we have had once where I was
6 is pretty good for 3.
Okay, yeah, 6 is good for 3, but I have had one where I think you had 14 cards in the graveyard, and that was fantastic.
Yeah, it happens with surprising regularity. I mean, specifically against Vorix because of Seal Fate, which is such a key component to the deck. So Seal Fate fuels the rest of the deck, and everything synergizes because you're milling, I'll mill Broderick's, I'll mill combo cards, so I can set up finishing moves like Surge of Adrenaline. There are a number of things that feed on each other, so Bonsai preys on that. It's kind of fitting for a hyena.
Yeah, and he's just so cute with his little pile of bones and death.
Right.
I'm channeling Brightwing.
We're just going to let that linger there. It's funnier that way. Anyway, so, as I said, our version of Werewolves is a little bit heavier.
That might be a personal thing.
But I think they're worthwhile. Fang obviously earns his place. He's undercosted for his stats and abilities. But he's a pet, so he has that significant drawback. Werewolves, the interaction between Envoy and the actual werewolves, like Garrett, like Rufus, it's one of the things that a lot of people, when they think about bans for Classic, want to jump to. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate that those things exist. Things like, again, the interaction between Seal Fate and the old combos, or even the new finishing moves, where it's any rogue ability. The Aberration Envoy interaction, I think those are interesting. Or even something as simple as Demons and Unholy Power, Demon Heroes and Unholy Power.
I mean, it's nice to have a theme. I like themes.
Well, it's not just the theme, it's that it allows you to take these cards that, like Envoy, for example. I'm sure people thought there was potential. It's like, okay, well, how can I get this to work? But combined with Aberration, it takes that additional step beyond simple synergy to becoming something really cool. Now, the Unholy Power hero interaction, maybe not quite, because it's a one-card combo.
Yeah.
But something where the Vorix deck fits as a giant puzzle, and all of these pieces interlock to make this really fun build. Really complicated to play, and you can often feel yourself, and you've heard me say multiple times, I'm not sure if this is the right line, but I'm going to do it and see.
I feel like that happens to me every time I play Vorix. Like, maybe? Sure, let's find out.
It's a deck that, if you want to play it, you're definitely going to have to practice, and changing out even a single piece can have a huge impact. So if you decide to change out No Mercy for Overkill, they basically function in the same capacity. They're a sweeper, they get you back in the game, they both cost 5, they're finishing moves, but here's the thing. This one only cares about rogue abilities. Overkill really has to have a critical mass of finishing moves. Mm-hmm. The problem with that is, okay, now you need to completely rework your deck to sustain those other finishing moves, or use ones that you don't care if you don't get the extra ability. So Surge, you don't have to remove combos, it just reduces the cost. So theoretically, you just play it as a 5-cost innervate. Mm-hmm. The issue being it's a 5-cost innervate that might be too slow.
Yeah.
So No Mercy allows you to do other things. Plus, Overkill would make this deck weaker against this matchup because it does damage, not just straight up off things.
Yeah, which is why I think we had switched it out, mainly because this was what we were playing against most of the time when we are playing it.
Well, it alleviates a lot of strain on the deck building process because it only, you're playing rogue abilities. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But if you have to play specific rogue abilities, and the fact that the design philosophy changed, so they moved away from combos that specifically looked for, finishing moves that specifically look for combo, to finishing moves that look for abilities, you're just limited. There's an upper limit on the number of combos, let alone good ones.
And it's also frustrating when, you don't draw any combos for, the first half of the game. They're all sitting in the bottom of your deck, and you draw things like No Mercy. There should be a way to play the combo.
Well, you could play them. They're just going to do virtually nothing in a lot of cases. So rogues in general become a very complex class to play because they do have some harsh limitations as compared to Aggressive Blue Hunter, where, this specific type has limitations because you want the cool interaction.
You want the Envoy Aberration interaction, but for most of the time, there isn't as many limitations. When you get to Hunter, it's play dudes.
Well, it's an aggressive deck, so it's kind of, as long as you're playing stuff, you're curving out, putting pressure on. But this deck top decks out very, very well, because Envoy has ferocity, sort of. Because your hero is almost always going to be able to attack. Yeah. Fang sort of has ferocity, because if you already have guys on the board, he's giving them Assault 1, so he's providing his attack immediately.
And if you have Ashinar with Envoy and Fang, so much fun.
Oh, yeah. Bonsai, because of your flip, or any of your pets, essentially has ferocity. Yeah. And it's kind of long range, so if you need to remove things, then you have, obviously, things with actual ferocity, like Avatar.
From deck. Bacchus.
You have pseudo-ferocity in Rufus. You get to do a lot of cool things, and don't forget that Rufus allows you to play around certain things. So, for example, Wife didn't have this happen, but she could, in response to me playing Deathblow, for example, targeting her hero, potentially give herself aberration, or does it have to be a Worgen? Before I say that,
I think it has to be a Worgen. But
let's find it. When the target hero or ally has an aberration and becomes a Worgen, so he gives you the werewolf.
Your werewolf abilities.
So just bite you? Is that what happens? This is getting weird.
A little.
It's getting a little weird.
It really depends on the lore and which terrible chick lit books I'm reading it next.
So anyway, back to the original point. Rufus serves multiple purposes. Against decks that you want to be aggressive, you can play him end of turn, or you obviously can sit on him for a while. Keep one of your guys alive, because I'm going to pop run deck. No, you're not. Nope. He's a werewolf until end of turn. I'm going to target your hero to close the game out. Nope.
Yeah. So that is a great thing that Rufus can do. I don't think I've done it much, just because it never seems to be in my hand in those moments when I need it. Yeah. But it is definitely something that I've thought about doing, and just wish that it would work out.
Now, as far as sideboards go, there are a lot of options. Obviously, rogue the board into new sweepers. You're going to get more bonsais out of the yard, out of the sideboard that are impacted by your opponent's yard for this specific matchup. For other matchups, it's a lot more of the usual suspects. You get Jai Shawls, you can get Chipper Ironbane. For Vorix, you run the gamut of the various sweepers if you want them. You could run kidney shots so that way you could affect, say, any of the interrupt-based matchups. So, end of turn, you could play, say, and these are just all cards that I keep on the side anytime I want to test something. I personally really like Helplessness, just as an aside, but I haven't quite been able to get it to work. You could run kidney shots, as I said, so you could choose resource, tap down their resources and turn. There's a lot of different options for both decks on where they can go. I really like both of them, and I don't know, maybe I'll play Vorix next year.
Yeah, I played my werewolves. They didn't go out so well for me, but maybe next time.
We'll see. It's definitely in the gauntlet. These are decks you should consider for the classic format. So going forward, you definitely subscribe to us, like all that fun stuff. Check out our website. Check out our Twitter. All that fun stuff.
All the links in the little doodly-doo below.
The doodly-doo.
The doodly-doo.
The description?
I prefer doodly-doo.
That's awful.
You should get over it. 'Cause I'm wife.
And I'm husband.
Join us next time for more random thoughts.